Hello, warriors. I'm specifically only addressing those of you who consider yourselves warriors. Though maybe I should change that, because I believe that Henry Ford's idea of industry is really like war. Who needs war, you know? I just voted. We have a peaceful society. We don't engage in war anymore. But no. Whoever wants peace should prepare for war. I'm making a voting video right now, but this is tying together, you know. I'll stick the blooper maybe somewhere, but I literally made a beginning of the video is a little lower energy. It's like, hello, warriors. It's kind of like, and like, no, like, hello, warriors. I am talking to people who are awake. Whoever wants peace should prepare for war. The reason that the United States is the bastion of freedom in the world, and it is, if the United States loses freedom, other countries will have no reason to compete. I mean, I think freedom is a competitive endeavor. People want to be free. People want prosperity. So when someone drives very, very far above the rest, everyone else is forced to a higher level to keep up, to compete, to remain relevant. So I just voted. Someone walk in out of the car. I just voted on like the presidency, vote for Trump and Vance. I think you guys should too. It's kind of the obvious choice. The dude is just so much more involved. I mean, whatever your ideas on politics, Harris is being handed the presidency and Trump is working his face off to get the presidency. So he's clearly more motivated than she is. She's even stopped campaigning. Like, the dude is so much more motivated. If the person's motivated, they'll do a good job. They'll at least have a higher likelihood of doing a good job, which is why I mostly voted on the topic of voting. This is interesting. I just voted on the people that I saw campaigning. Like, if you don't campaign, this is, I think, a principle everyone should adopt. If I'm not aware that you're campaigning, I'm going to vote for the incumbent. I'm just going to vote for the incumbent. If I don't know who you are and you haven't given me any reason to vote for you, I will vote for the incumbent. Because, like, why wouldn't I vote for the incumbent? Why would I vote for you if you've given me no reason to? It's your job to convince me that the principles you are running on and that you believe our country should be run on are more relevant than the principles my opponent wants my country to run on or my state to run on. One of the other issues I thought was really interesting is there's one law proposed to regulate an industry. I'm against any laws regulating industry because Henry Ford, his ideas created so much prosperity. Like, really modern business, this is crazy. I'm going to share a lot more business stuff on the channel because I haven't really been sharing as much business stuff because I'm just growing my company and I don't want anyone to necessarily steal my edge. Like, I'm not going to tell you how I'm training per se. I mean, though maybe you should because your opponent probably wouldn't do it anyway. I mean, like, at the end of the day, if you have the real principles, and this is why I'll start sharing more business stuff, because you have the real principles of industry, not business, industry. This is what Ford understood. If you have the principles of industry, you're unbeatable. So I'm simply going to implement the principles of industry in the supplement industry. It will be unbeatable. And people don't implement these principles. People will not implement Ford's principles. They won't do it, or they won't do it until it's been proven to be so effective that there's no other option. And then, so Ford bit himself in the butt when he ultimately, because there's a pattern in life where, so Ford was an industrialist for the auto. Trump's father was an industrialist for the home. Trump's son Edsel wanted to be a luxury manufacturer for auto. Trump became a successful luxury manufacturer for home. Ford ultimately forced his kid to try to, like, make aircraft travel profitable, which was just very arrogant. And he talks about at the end of his book, he lacks self-awareness on how arrogant that was, because he was capitalizing on a unique thing that was going on in the industry at the time. And in, like, the world, like engines, profitable, like refining, gasoline, like all these things came together to allow Ford to do what he did. So tying that back to voting is one way we influence society, if it is fair. It's only if you have fair elections. Trump wants fair elections. I want fair elections too. He says he wants fair elections. I believe he wants fair elections. He's the outsider ultimately. I hope Trump wins, but whatever. I don't really just because, like, it's cooler. Like, it was so much cooler when he was president. It just was cooler. You can't deny it. Like now Trump's speaking to Kim Jong-un. Oh my God. Like, it was so cool. And now, like, what does Biden do? He's just like, it's like, he's just, I don't even, who's that man? I don't remember Joe Biden. But basically, though, industry is, that's also like how we beat the Germans, is like Ford. Ultimately, I think like Ford's manufacturing capabilities, like to make tanks, I think we outmanufactured them because of its principles. And ultimately, this is the power of America, is to use these principles of business to make everyone wealthy. Because ultimately, this is what Rome understood. This is why business, industry, like real industry and warfare are one and the same. And whoever wants peace should prepare for war. I mean, Ford is even aware of this in his book. He talks about how he thinks like, he says in his book at the beginning chapter, he's like, I don't really care about laws. I just care about getting stuff done. He's just like, we've had to break laws to get things done. But we weren't successful because we broke laws. We were successful because we had a vision. Like, that's my man. So ultimately, Ford is on this train of thought that's incredibly beneficial, where he is pioneering industry in an entirely new way by serving people. And that's really what it's about. It's about service to people. Because when you serve people, it ultimately, like, you get more flies with honey than with vinegar. But the reason you have to think like a warrior, though, is not because service, people can only be, it's like to serve man. To serve man. You ever see that Twilight Zone episode, To Serve Man? It's literally like they come to Earth and they establish peace and everything, and they're just like, we come bringing all the gifts. It's like, why do we need to be warriors anymore? Everyone gets rid of all their weapons because the aliens bring them shields that can stop any weapon, and like everyone like just stops doing it. It's like, why do we need to be warriors anymore? Literally, like, why do we need to be warriors anymore? The benevolent people brought everything for us. And the reason you still need to be a warrior is because then you're just cattle. You're not an equal. And you can only have respect among equals because there's no difference between respect and fear. And it's not that fear should dominate, but fear needs to be present, or there can be no respect and no love. I mean, people say, what a parent to children, you know, fear your child. Yeah, you do. I'm totally afraid of like letting April down because I identify with her. Like, my sense of self extends beyond myself to the point where I would like, but also like I have a society and an identity within a society that reinforces my role. Like, and I'm not trying to sound like a psychopath here, but I'm trying to say, like, because there are people, and this is like how you know God is real. Like, there are people who in horrible, horrible circumstances will persevere and do the right thing. But like the majority of people don't. And you shouldn't, like, this is what Ford talks about. He literally talks about like how improving the wages of workers through industry and not regulation. He says regulation will always destroy everything, because regulation necessarily prevents free market. He said most of the reason that people don't get paid a good wage, and that like literally, like, he did this in every industry he came into. The dude bought railroads. The dude bought I repeat myself. The dude bought like all like steel manufacturing plants. He invented the modern hospital, grocery stores. What other businesses do you go into? Rails, shipping. You into shipping? Like, the dude went into a lot of different businesses and implemented his ideas, and he was able to be successful again and again and again, because the fundamental idea of I mean, he was also a hyper genius, though, too. The guy was a hyper genius, so it really isn't surprising. It is surprising, but it's not entirely surprising that the ideas haven't been widely implemented by anyone except for Elon Musk. I literally read this book, and I'm like, oh, this is just what Elon Musk is doing. Like, this is what Elon Musk is. This is why Elon Musk is the richest man in the world on paper today. It's like, he's just doing what Ford talked about in his book. He's implementing the same principles. Though he's more obsessed with getting to Mars. Like, that's his biggest thing. And I haven't entirely completed, like, I don't know. I'm just not Elon. So I'm not interested in becoming Elon. I'm interested in not taking over, but providing better service than every other supplement company out there. I'm interested in the category of consumable nutritional supplements being the best, being just so much better, so much cheaper than everyone else, and paying my employees so much more, because ultimately he just shows that, like, I mean, he like dominated. Like, the guy he was paying people like 3 times the average wage, 5 times the average wage, and like even like people had to increase the wages in the area just to keep up with him, like other companies to compete to get workers. And he had lists of 1,000 people for like every position. So if like someone didn't want to work for him anymore, he would just like, okay, next person, 1,000 people, because the work was really good. He also focused on making the work easy and enjoyable, because he was like, people will work harder and better if you give them easy and enjoyable work. And he like, there's all the principles he talks about. It's a person-centered business idea, honestly, in some real sense. I'm thinking like it's really like the first articulation of a business model that doesn't rely on any sort of thing approximating exploitation. It's just getting the most from people by helping them be their best and giving them conditions under which they can be their best. So ultimately, but this isn't charity though. Like, this is how he got to be the captain of the industry. So again, because he wanted to make money, because he wanted to be wealthier than other people. You wanted to be wealthy. I mean, there's no moral to poverty. Poverty is just terrible for everyone. So obviously everyone wants to be wealthy. Like, why wouldn't you want to be wealthy? Like, poverty is just miserable. It's just lack of things you need. Lack of things that you can use to make your life better. It's just like constantly being stressed. I mean, unless you have like an amazing support network and all these things, but then you're not poor. You just don't have your riches and money. But it's like some people don't have all that stuff. So again, it's like you need wealth regardless of how you attain it. So he pursued helping people as his means to wealth because it's the most effective. So the idea of being a warrior is not you're a warrior because you like think you're going to war. It's the idea that, like in von Clausewitz, I think, as well as Machiavelli, say that war should always be a means to negotiation. Like, I'm not going to do war with you as a means to destroying you. I'm doing war with you as a means to negotiating with you to get a favorable outcome for myself. Like, war that is simply trying to, like, war is simply the strong arm of negotiation. Because it's always better in general to negotiate with people. I mean, I'm kind of a little conflicted right now because Robert Greene talks about the total destruction of an enemy being necessary. And I respect his idea. I mean, I want to like look into this more, like the duality of total destruction of the enemy with, you want to be capable of total destruction of the enemy. But it also comes like, I think it depends, like if there's two powers, like if there's just two powers. But again, the United States didn't go in and totally destroy the Soviet Union. We allowed it to collapse. Because I guess like, you have to know what the enemy is. The enemy is an idea. The enemy is a mind virus. Ultimately, the enemy is not another human being. The enemy is, because at the end of the day, this is like the thing, the United States, I don't know. The United States says they don't torture people for information. I don't know if that's true. I hope it's true. But they say that they simply say, look, your life's over. You're going to spend your entire life in jail. You're never getting out. But your kids, we can give your kids stuff. We can blah, 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 blah. We can help your family and stuff. Or like, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what they do. But that's like something they talked about. Some guy talked about, he said, like, you can get people to work with you more easily if you give them gifts. But you have to have gifts to give, and that comes from industry, not from generosity, because generosity is a byproduct of wealth. You cannot be generous if you are not wealthy. If you do not have excess to give, excess love, time, attention, resources, food, money, solutions, knowledge, whatever your currency happens to be. So I think you have to think like a warrior. You have to think how, like, I don't know, like, what would happen if everyone in this room started trying to kill me? I mean, I literally carry a knife, and I'm very trained at hand fighting. So I would just stab the people trying to kill me in the jugular. I mean, if they had a gun, I guess I'd, like, angle, you know what I mean? I have this idea, I've kind of thought it through, and, like, I won't say the entire plan, because it's just kind of not what the video is about, but it's just think it through, you know, like have several ideas about what you would do in any given scenario. Like, what would you do if like someone did X? Like, what would you do if someone just like killed your parents? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you're like what would you do if someone just tried to like kill you? Like, I don't know, if someone breaks in your house, tries to kill you. If you're like 500 pounds and you can't move, you should make that your number one priority. You should be like, because people will be like incredibly overweight. There's this guy who's incredibly overweight, and I had this discussion with him, like, why be a warrior? And he was like, I carry a gun, but like, I don't know, why be a warrior? Like, what's a warrior? What's the whole point of being in shape? And he was very, very overweight, but he was like, what's the point? And I'm just like, dude, like, you're limiting your experience of life. Like, because I think of myself as a warrior, because I am a warrior, I carry a stick with me when I walk in the woods. Because I carry a stick with me when I walk in the woods, when I encounter a bunch of snakes, I smack them out of the way with my stick. Now, I have opened the world up to myself by being prepared. So ultimately, I mean, if you don't think of yourself as a warrior, you or your descendants will be slaves. So if that resonates with you, subscribe for more.